So yeah, right here, if I go and stand in this corner for a bit, then it's going to enable what's called short mode, where, yeah, the level requirements drop from 12 per world to 5. Before we knew about this, the run was like 2.5 hours long, and now it's like 50 minutes. So definitely saves a lot of time being able to do this. In cases like that, I could use impact and it would speed things up, but using the hammer there actually does a whole lot more for me than impact would, so I just use the hammer instead. World 1 is pretty much the same between items and itemless right now. I don't think there's really too much different World 1 could be, just because the item selection isn't great at the start, so there's no real point of trying to really figure out a way to make it work. And then the reason I have access to items is the pool of what items you have available to you is actually shared across all the saves you have. So I have one save that's completed the game, and I can just go in it and buy all the items from, and that's how I just restock between runs, is I just go back to a different save and just buy more items. And later in the run, we'll see an item that definitely trivializes a lot of the game, and is the main reason why Cerise might actually be faster to use, is because of this one item. We're basically going to use an item that's just going to paint a ton of the map for us, and like I mentioned earlier, the other character moves slower if you're going over repeat tiles, where Cerise doesn't. She just goes back to her normal walking speed. So using the item and then having Cerise just walk around is faster than the other character might be, even though he may move faster across normal tiles. This is another one of the better items in the game, the dash. But we unfortunately don't have access to use it at our will right now. Going this way was definitely a mistake, because now I repeat. That was not good. Okay, this time, don't forget to split after a level. So now we have dash, so I can use dash to go through stuff a little bit faster. I can just use this and just speed through tiles. And the other item I have in there, Bomb, that just clears all the enemies from, just kills a bunch of enemies. So if you're getting overwhelmed, you can use that to clear an area. And we have 3, 5. Okay, 310. Okay. So this is an example of impact being useful, as this level has a bunch of hidden tiles, and impact will just automatically fill in those tiles for us, so we don't have to, we don't have to guess where these tiles are. Granted, in this level, it's not exactly, they're not exactly that well hidden. They're just, you know, wherever, but it still saves us the time. And then another example, hidden tiles. You can see the hidden tiles there. So this is a one where we have to double back on tiles we paint to change it to the color that's actually intended. But if we then go back over them again, they turn back. So we want to avoid basically tripling down on a tile. So we're just going to make circles and use dash to move a little bit faster. That was an unfortunate spawn, but we should still be fine. It's fine because we have that shield. That's not good. That was really bad. I'm not too worried about any of these early worlds, just because I know late game I can do so much better. So now we have access to the hammer, which is basically the same impact, but much more useful. The advantage the hammer has over impact is that if a level requires us to double back on tiles to make sure they flip a different color again, hammer will actually flip it both ways. So if we need to flip something twice, if we hit it with hammer, it'll basically act as if we went over it twice. So hammer is a lot more useful than impact is for that reason. So there'll just be levels where we have to do less walking over the same tiles, just because we can just hammer them instead. No. And then if we die, we lose our item. But there's a hammer right there, so we don't worry too much. Not the greatest. So this is a level where we get an item that is forced upon us called Super Jump, where we cannot swap this. So this level requires us to only use the Super Jump. But this level is intended as a tutorial for Super Jump, so it's not particularly difficult or challenging or hard or anything. It's not a very long level in general. It's just there to teach us. The only part that kind of sucks is this area, just because there's a lot going on right here. Bunch of enemies, these little laser bars. So this is a level where I'm going to activate these, and now these are the ones that prevent me from doubling back and undoing tiles I've already stepped on. I'm going to use this just because this area, well, the area requires a lot of repeats. Not really requires it, but there's just a lot of chances for repeating here. And so I just prefer to not have to worry about it. Just gonna go up here to avoid all the enemies. And now we can, and this gives you an idea of how good hammer is. This hammer will just allow me to nonchalantly just swing around and it'll color in the tiles for me. So this is a level where we get to use the dash a bunch. And it's another level where we try to avoid repeating tiles, because that'll undo them. Of course, now I'm going to do it anyway, because I'm a monster, but... And then after we finish World 7, we get to see the item that basically trivializes the rest of the game. And the item that basically is the reason why a lot of the, like a big reason as to what causes reroutes for the item run. And then this is another super jump level. And in this level, I've tried figuring out good ways to make this faster. It's just, we can just dash. Another good item might be the wrap paper, just because the wrap paper just goes in a straight line like we do, so we can just send it off in different directions for us. But I think the dash would still be faster than using the wrap paper. No, I got hit. This is the one I spent some time on last night, trying to figure out a good way, a good reroute for this. Okay. So now we get to see the crazy item. And the main reason why Cerise is probably actually faster. All right. And it's this. This bucket item is a instant paint all around you that then just gives you all of the correct tiles no matter what. So it completely ignores everything and will just give you the tile you need to finish the level. So we just go through and spam it around. And this is the main reason why she's probably faster, is if I was doing this run as Airchew, every time I do this, I'd be significantly slower because I'm doubling back on all these painted tiles. But because I'm playing as Cerise, she just goes back to her normal walking speed. And these 2 levels I'm doing are the ones I routed in last night, after I realized just how insane doing this would be. Nope, not bomb. And I just walked into that, so there's... I'm still bad at the video game. And on to World 9. So pretty much from this point on, a lot of the levels are just abusing the paint bucket. Which you could argue probably doesn't make for a very interesting, like, end to the run, but it is kind of funny. Now this is a level where I don't really like this level, and this is probably one that I'm still looking at what I should replace it with. Just because there's a lot of backtracking to where using a bunch of items will just jeopardize this. Like, I can't really use the paint bucket here because then I can't have both this and the item that prevents me from, you know, losing progress by doubling back. So this is a level I'm still trying to figure out how I want to reroute. Because it's not my favorite. So that level probably won't stay in the item route for very long. This is also another one that's probably going to get replaced. The gimmick on this level is there's landmines all around that are like instant kill. Not exactly fun to deal with or interesting. And it does make it to where rat paper is kind of nice, because rat paper will just go until it ends or hits an object. So it just goes and goes and goes. So it does make that a little bit more interesting and useful. But that one's probably going to get changed. This is also why, after every run, I have to replenish the items, because especially the paint bucket just gets used so much. And this is another level where Cerise would probably just be the reason why, or this is the sole level as to what made me think Cerise is probably faster. It's just a giant square where I'm just having to spam the paint bucket, and all these repeat tiles I'm walking over. And now we're on to the final world. So the final world, unlike the others, has a fixed set of levels. It always has 7 levels no matter what. And this whole time, the main goal of completing a level is filling a certain percentage of the tiles with my color instead. The final world, I have to 100% every single level to be able to progress. This is also an unskippable cutscene, so I can't do anything about this. But with the final world, I have to color in every single tile, which does mean that the paint bucket is especially useful just because of everything around me just gets instantly filled. There are some obnoxious levels in here, but hopefully I can avoid game overing in the final world. This is also the only time where I can't actually skip the intro. So this whole time I've been mashing the reset button to get over having to wait for the level to do like the fade in thing where it does the monkey ball thing of showing you the level and then giving you access to it. I can spam the reset reset level button to completely skip over having to wait for that. I can't do that in this world for some reason. It is just not possible. If you hit reset, it will just actually reset. Are you kidding me? There was no way I was gonna know he was there. Thankfully, if you complete a level, you just get a life, so you can just continue. This is one of the levels I don't like in the final world, just because there's so much... by the end of it, there's so many enemies coming after you and everything's so cramped. And then this one is relatively easy, because I just spam the wrap paper. Plus the game's nice enough to give you a free shield, so you can avoid, or you can tank one hit. Wow, that's unfair. Are you kidding me? There's one tile somewhere. Oh no, I'm going to game over, aren't I? Where's this last tile? Am I blind? Oh, there it is. That was really bad. But thankfully, the rest of it is generally pretty simple. And I want to avoid running out of the paint bucket, because I'm still going to need a couple of them. So I will switch to dash, so I can just stay safe. This is also a really obnoxious one. Just because these enemies we have to kill in here, these little beans, will then turn into a different enemy when killed. Like that. And I don't like it. And then I missed the tile somewhere. I can't see where. Where is this tile? There. Yeah, this is definitely not great. But it is still, I mean, it's a good representation of what it looks like, but if I wasn't bad, it would be so much better. So now, because I used a bunch of paint buckets early, I have to finish the level without them, but this would be another one where it trivializes it. Okay, well, not the greatest. I still really fumbled the final world, but this is a big PB. This now actually finally beats the record with items. So, and then we actually use in-game time, so my splits being 45:05 means that the in-game time is probably going to be a 44. This is one thing I wish I could do. I wish we could skip the credits, because this whole section just to see my in-game time takes forever. But this is definitely a really good game, really fun to run, despite the fact that, at least for the early worlds, it can be kind of difficult. And then once we hit World 8, it sort of becomes really trivial. Though I do need to get better about... Obviously, I needed more paint buckets before for the final world, so I was spamming them a little too much early on. So that'll have to be something I work on. And then there's definitely a lot of, like, I just died way too much in the final world. A worst case scenario would be if I game over, because unlike the other levels, if you game over in any level, you can just hit retry and it starts you off the level again. The final world, if you game over, you go back to the first level in the final world. So if I game over at final 7, it would put me back at final 1, which would basically be the end of any run, because there's really no recovering that. The final world just takes too long for any sort of game over to be for it to be useful or good. So any game over in the final world is basically an instant reset, which sucks because that's like 35 minutes into the run. But I'm gonna guess my in-game time is probably gonna be like I'm gonna say like a 44, maybe a 44.50, something like that. And of course we use in-game time because that means that no matter what hardware people are on, they can still be competitive. Because right now I'm running off an SSD, but if somebody's running and doesn't have the ability to have an SSD, or they just, for whatever reason, they're still using a hard disk, it won't mean too much. The in-game time only tracks the time you're in the levels, so it'll make it fair for everybody. So basically my splits are mostly cosmetic and don't really mean a whole lot until I get to the actual end where I can see the in-game time. Alright, what are we looking at? 44.55.